Okay, today we're going to go over how to write a script. Most of this presentation is videos from people about some script writing tips, so you definitely want to open this up in Canvas so that way you can easily click on the videos and watch them as we go. So the first video we're going to watch is actually from a writer, Kurt Vonnegut, talking about the shapes of stories. So it's important to note when you are writing your story, when does things get interesting? When is the conflict? How quickly does the conflict fall after that? Are your characters happy? Are your characters sad? What is their emotional journey? So watch this and then start thinking about what shape of your story do you want your story to take. Okay, so the next video is going to be some overall tips for writing in general. Then your next video is going to talk about how do you actually write. So how do you get started in the writing process? Where do you get started? I would suggest getting started with your basic overview of what you want to happen. So what kind of conflict do you want to have in your show? What do you want your basic story to be about? And who are your characters? And then spend quite a bit of time developing your characters before you start writing the rest of your show. And that brings us to our next point, creating characters. So the next video is how to actually create characters and where to draw inspiration for characters from. Okay, so next thing we're going to go over some different types of conflict. And if you're going through this presentation from Canvas, if you click on each of these things over here, they'll take you to a video example of that kind of a conflict. So one of the places to start with writing your script is to figure out what kind of conflict is going to be present in your play. So you have man versus man when a character struggles with another character. Man versus nature, when a character struggles with the force of nature, like natural disaster, desolation, or an animal. Man versus society, when a character or characters fight against society in which they live in. Man versus self, when a character struggles with his or her own mind. Man versus supernatural, when a character struggles with supernatural forces. Man versus fate, when a character struggles with his or her own destiny. And man versus technology, when a character struggles with computers, machines, or robots. So the next thing is deciding on your style. So it's finding your own individual style as a writer, and also if you went through that style of script, figuring out what type of play do you want to write. Do you want to write a realistic play? Do you want to write a naturalism play? What type of play do you want to write? Then the next video you're going to watch is about building your plot. So you want your plot to have a good pace. You don't want it to move so quickly that your reader is confused as to what happened, but you also don't want to move so slowly that they're bored and they're waiting for something to happen. So this video is going to talk about how to help build that plot, when to make things interesting. Next one is going to talk about how to structure a scene. So we have our idea of plot, we have our characters. Now how do we actually start writing the dialogue for that and setting up the structure of each scene? And that brings us to writing dialogue. So that's the next tip, is how do I actually write dialogue? How do I decide what I want the characters to say, and how do I make it interesting? And then the last thing you're going to do is figure out how are you going to end the play? What kind of resolution in the plot do you want to get?